Right now, Arsenal are preparing for one of the most important nights in their recent history. The Champions League last 16, two legs, two chances to prove that this club belongs among the elite of European football. And standing in their way is Bayer Leverkusen, the German Bundesliga side, a team built on quality, organisation and danger in every area of the pitch. But here is where things get interesting. Arsenal are not walking into this tie at full strength. Far from it. The injury list at the Emirates is growing, and the timing could not be more difficult. At the same time, there are signs that fortune may be shifting slightly in Arsenal's favour. Two key players have returned from injury. And on the other side, Leverkusen's most dangerous attacking weapon is facing a serious fitness doubt ahead of the first leg. This is a story about preparation, resilience, and the fine margins that separate European glory from early elimination. So let us break this down properly, because there is a lot happening here that the casual observer might miss. The stakes to understand why this tie matters so deeply, you have to appreciate the path that has opened up for Arsenal. If they can get past Leverkusen over these two legs, the route ahead becomes significantly more manageable. The quarterfinal draw has placed either Bodo Glimt or Sporting CP as potential opponents. Neither of those sides carries the same weight of threat as some of the other clubs remaining in the competition. That means Arsenal are not just playing for a quarter-final spot. They are realistically playing for a place in the semi-finals of the Champions League. And beyond that, potentially a first Champions League final appearance in 20 years. That is not a small thing. That is a defining moment for a generation of supporters, for this manager, and for this group of players. So when you look at the injury situation Arsenal are currently managing, the gravity of it becomes clear. This is not the time to lose key players. This is not the time for fitness doubts and uncertainty. And yet, that is exactly the situation the club finds itself in. If you want this level of detailed breakdown on every major Arsenal story as we move through this Champions League campaign, hit that subscribe button right now. Every update, every analysis, every important development broken down properly and delivered straight to you. Do not miss a single moment of what could be a historic run for this club. Now let us get into the full picture. The Leverkusen threat and the Schick situation. Bayer Leverkusen are a serious team. They earned their place in this last 16 with professionalism and quality. In the playoff round, they faced Olympiacos and dealt with the challenge efficiently. They won on the road in Athens and then held the Greeks to a goalless draw back in Germany. Two legs, job done, progression secured. The man at the centre of that performance was Patrick Schick. The Czech striker scored both goals in Athens, and those were the goals that put Leverkusen firmly in control of the tie. He is their most dangerous player in front of goal this season. 13 goals and 3 assists in the current campaign. He sits ahead of every other Leverkusen player in the scoring charts, with Alex Grimaldo behind him on 11 goals. Schick is the heartbeat of their attack, and his presence makes Leverkusen a completely different proposition. But here is the situation that Arsenal will be monitoring very closely. Schick did not feature in Leverkusen's midweek Bundesliga win over Hamburger SV. He missed that game entirely. In his absence, a 19-year-old Cameroon international named Christian Kafene stepped into the role and scored the only goal of the match. A promising performance from a young player, but that does not change the significance of Schick's absence. When Leverkusen manager Kasper Hjulmand was asked about the striker's fitness ahead of the Arsenal tie, his response was measured but not reassuring. He told reporters that they simply did not know yet how Schick was doing. He said the next 2 days would show more about the striker's condition. That kind of statement from a manager does not suggest a player who is close to being 100% ready. It suggests a genuine doubt. Now let us be precise about what this means. This is not confirmation that Schick will miss the Arsenal game, but it is a real acknowledged fitness concern from the manager himself. And given how central Schick is to everything Leverkusen do in attack, any reduction in his availability or physical sharpness would represent a significant advantage for Arsenal defensively. The wider Leverkusen injury list. Schick is not the only concern for Hjulmand as he prepares for the first leg. The injury situation at Leverkusen is actually quite extensive right now, and it adds further context to the challenge facing their manager. Nathan Teller is currently out. Elise Ben-Seghir is unavailable. Goalkeeper Mark Flecken is sidelined. Defender Loki Bade is injured. Lucas Vazquez is out, and Arthur is also among the absentees. That is a significant number of players unavailable for a tie of this magnitude. Hillman is working with a stretched squad, and while his team have shown resilience in managing these absences domestically, the demands of a Champions League knockout tie are different. The intensity, the tactical discipline required, the physical output over 2 legs, all of that is elevated when you are playing at this level. And doing it without several key squad members while also carrying a major doubt over your top scorer creates a very specific kind of pressure. From Arsenal's perspective, this is the kind of information that matters in preparation. Knowing where the opposition are vulnerable, where the gaps in their squad might appear, and how their attacking threat could be diminished if Schick is not fully fit or does not feature. This is exactly the analysis a coaching staff like Mikel Arteta's will be working through meticulously. Arsenal's own injury challenges. Now, here is where the story becomes more complex. Because while Arsenal will take encouragement from Leverkusen's problems, they are carrying their own significant injury concerns into this tie. Martin Odegaard, the club captain and one of the most important creative forces in Arteta's system, is expected to miss the game. His absence is a known issue, and it is a significant one. Odegaard has started just 2 games in the past 5 weeks, and his knee problem means a return later in March is more likely. For a player who controls tempo, links play, and contributes to both the defensive and offensive phases of Arsenal's game, losing him is a genuine blow. Mikel Merino is also unavailable. The midfielder, who was brought to the club to add quality and depth in central areas, is recovering from foot surgery. His return is not expected until May at the earliest. That means Merino plays no part in this Champions League tie, and his absence removes an option that Arteta had been planning to use in high-pressure matches. William Saliba, the French central defender who has been one of Arsenal's most consistent performers, is carrying an ankle injury sustained against Chelsea. The situation is that he twisted his ankle in that match, managed to finish the game, but was too sore to feature in subsequent fixtures. Arteta has indicated the injury is to a different ankle than initially thought. The expectation is that Saliba could return quickly, but there remains uncertainty around his involvement in the first leg against Leverkusen. Gabriel Magalhaes, another key figure in Arsenal's defensive structure, is also among those being monitored. Declan Rice and Martin Zubimendi add to the list of players whose fitness and availability have been a concern in the build-up to this tie. The depth of the injury list is not a minor issue. It is a real operational challenge for a manager trying to field his best available team in a knockout European fixture. The Mansfield Cup injuries. The situation became more complicated following Arsenal's FA Cup victory over Mansfield Town. What should have been a comfortable cup progression came with 2 fresh injury concerns that Arteta will have been very unhappy about. Leandro Trossard was withdrawn from the match in the 38th minute. He was clutching his leg and was clearly unable to continue. The manager explained that both Trossard and Riccardo Calafiori had picked up small physical complaints during the game. Calafiori specifically felt his hamstring during a clearance. Arteta's words were that they had little niggles, that they were not comfortable to continue, and that the conditions on the day made those kinds of issues a possibility. The tone from the manager suggested these were not serious long-term problems, but the timing matters enormously. With the first leg of the Leverkusen tie arriving just days later, any doubt over Trossard's leg and Calafiori's hamstring is unwelcome. These are players who contribute meaningfully to what Arsenal do, and their availability or unavailability will shape the options Arteta has when selecting his team for the most important game of the club's season so far. Calafiori had already missed the 1-0 win at Brighton following his ankle complaint against Chelsea, having managed to complete that game but feeling the effects afterwards. His situation is one that the club will be managing carefully, and how he recovers in the days leading up to the Leverkusen game will tell a significant story about Arsenal's defensive options. The positive returns now, amid all of the difficulty, there are genuine reasons for optimism within the Arsenal camp. And these returns matter greatly in the context of the squad depth challenges the club is navigating. Kai Havertz has returned from injury and is available for selection. This is an important development. Havertz is a player with deep personal history connected to this tie. Before joining Chelsea in a deal worth £71 million, he was a central figure at Bayer Leverkusen for years. He scored 46 goals and contributed 31 assists in 150 appearances for the German side. In his final season alone, he contributed 18 goals and 9 assists before departing. His connection to Leverkusen is not just professional history, it is emotional. Leverkusen sporting director Simon Rolfes has publicly stated that he remains in contact with Havertz and that the Arsenal forward was cheering for his former club to advance and potentially be drawn against Arsenal in this round. Rolfes spoke openly about wanting the chance to say a proper farewell to Havertz at their stadium, noting it would be almost 6 years since his departure for Chelsea. Havertz himself is reported to be looking forward to facing his former club. That kind of personal motivation in a high-stakes game is a factor that analysts take seriously. A player returning to a familiar stadium, facing opponents who know him well but who he also knows deeply, carrying the confidence of having just returned from injury. These are the ingredients for a meaningful individual performance, and Arteta will be aware of how Havertz could be used in this specific context. Max Dowman has also returned from injury. His return adds to the options available to the manager as he constructs his plans for both legs of the tie. Every player available matters when the injury list is as long as the one Arsenal are currently managing. The Hincapie question answered one of the most interesting subplots surrounding this tie involves Piero Hincapie. The Ecuadorian defender joined Arsenal on loan from Bayer Leverkusen in the summer transfer window. The deal included a loan arrangement plus a buy option valued at £45 million, giving Arsenal the ability to make the transfer permanent if they choose to activate that clause. The natural question for any supporter would be whether Hincapie is even eligible to face his parent club. Can a lone player appear against the team that technically still owns his registration? The answer under UEFA regulations is yes. The rules governing European competition are different from those in the Premier League, where a lone player cannot face their permanent employer. In Champions League football, no such restriction exists. This means Hincapie is fully available for selection and is permitted to face Leverkusen in both legs of this tie. He knows the club intimately. He knows the players, the tactical patterns, the tendencies of the squad he spent time with before moving to Arsenal. That inside knowledge is potentially valuable, and Arteta will certainly have had detailed conversations with Hincapie about what to expect from the opposition. The historical precedent here is well established. Philippe Coutinho scored twice against Barcelona while on loan from the Catalan side to Bayern Munich in the quarterfinals of the 2019-20 Champions League. A lone player performing against his parent club on the biggest stage is not unprecedented. It is an accepted and sometimes very significant part of European football. Whether Hincapie features prominently depends on the broader selection decisions Arteta makes, particularly given the defensive injury concerns with Saliba, Calafiori, and Gabriel all carrying various degrees of fitness uncertainty, but his availability is confirmed, and his knowledge of the opponent adds a dimension to Arsenal's preparation that should not be underestimated. The broader context of this tie, stepping back and looking at the full picture, what emerges is a tie of genuine complexity and high stakes for both sides. This is not a simple story of one team being clearly superior walking into a comfortable two-legged encounter. Both clubs are carrying injury issues. Both managers are making calculations about squad fitness, rotation, and how to manage player availability across two legs. For Arsenal, the combination of Odegaard's absence, Marino's long-term unavailability, the doubts surrounding Saliba, Calafiori and Trossard, and the ongoing monitoring of Rice and Gabriel creates a selection puzzle of significant proportions. Arteta is a manager who values tactical clarity and knowing his best available lineup well in advance. The current situation demands more flexibility and contingency planning than he would ideally want. For Leverkusen, the Schick out is the headline concern, but the wider picture of 6 players unavailable alongside their top scorer's uncertain fitness is a real burden for Hjulmand. Managing a Champions League last 16 tie with that level of squad disruption requires tactical adaptability and a clear plan for how to compensate for missing quality in key areas. What is certain is that both teams have reasons to believe they can win this tie, and both teams have reasons to be genuinely concerned about their ability to perform at full capacity. That combination of factors makes the first leg, scheduled for Wednesday, one of the most compelling fixtures in the European calendar this week. The road that has opened up, it is worth returning to the point about the draw because it adds an important layer to why Arsenal will be so determined to navigate this round successfully. The path forward from this stage has opened up in a way that does not happen often for a club working to re-establish itself at the top of European football. Bodo Glimt and Sporting CP await in the quarterfinals if Arsenal advance. Those are not the most fearsome opponents that could have emerged from the draw at this stage of the competition. The semi-finals would then bring whoever comes through from the other side of the bracket. The opportunity is clear and the players and management will be fully aware of it. The last time Arsenal reached a Champions League final was 20 years ago. An entire generation of supporters has grown up watching that remain a distant memory. The hunger to change that narrative is real, and it creates its own form of intensity around every match in this competition. That context shapes how this injury situation must be managed. The temptation to rush players back, to take risks with fitness in order to field the strongest possible team is real. But the countervailing risk of aggravating injuries in a tie that could require 2 full performances is equally significant. Arteta and his medical staff will be navigating these decisions with extraordinary care. The final assessment here is where the analysis lands. Arsenal enter this tie with clear challenges, but also with real advantages that have emerged from the circumstances surrounding their opponents. Leverkusen's top scorer is a genuine doubt. Their squad is already stretched by multiple absences. Their manager has publicly acknowledged uncertainty around the fitness of their most important attacking player. These are not manufactured advantages for Arsenal. They are real confirmed factors that shape the balance of this tie. On Arsenal's side, the return of Havertz and Dalman from injury represents a meaningful boost. Havertz in particular brings both quality and personal motivation to a match he clearly wants to perform in. Hincapie's eligibility and his knowledge of the opposition is a tactical asset that Arteta can utilise. And while the injury list is concerning, the manager's tone around Trossard and Calafiori suggested neither problem is expected to be long-term. The uncertainty around Saliba remains the most pressing concern from a defensive stability standpoint. He is arguably Arsenal's most important defensive player, and his ability to be fit and available for the first leg will have a major bearing on how the game is set up and managed. This is the situation. The first leg arrives on Wednesday. Every detail of preparation matters. Every available player matters. And every decision made in the days leading up to kickoff will carry consequences that could echo all the way to a potential Champions League final. Arsenal are at a crossroads in their European campaign. The door to history is open. Whether they walk through it begins with what happens against Leverkusen.